prepared to look at risk in a slightly different way. They do have a long-term view. They will they will challenge you. The PIC, for example, the South African Pension Fund, they have 151 billion. They've dedicated $7 billion to sub-Saharan Africa. The bulk of that could come to Nigeria. We're trying to find projects for these people. And with those kind of funds, they will challenge you about what you're doing to create economic development, what you're doing to cater for the poor, as well as looking at their objectives to make money. So there are partners out there. There are projects that you have already, and we just need to think about moving it to a completely different scale.
Thank you very much. We are almost out of time, so I'd like to take a few questions for the panelists, if there are.
Can you see them? Okay, let me help you then. This one, housing scheme by private firms and even government are unaffordable due to cost of materials. Could investors suggest types of building technology used in the Western world to be introduced in Ogun State Urban Renewal Scheme? Sulaiman Fasasi.
Any takers?
Investors, so let me take that.
Yes.
It's not necessarily an investor question, but I do know that there is a very good technology now that's come out, which uses panels, steel casing, and cement to build very efficient, low-income housing. It works very, very well. It's worked very well in developing countries. It's being rolled out. Some companies are using it in Nigeria already, and the potential for that is great. The one thing that it does, because the technology is so easy to understand, what happens is you can roll this out and localize the development, or rather the rollout of the plans, and therefore create employment immediately, and have local companies very quickly taking on the projects themselves and doing them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Actually, Actis actually invested in a company called MFE Formwork, Mivan Far East, which actually has formwork technology that should speed and lower the cost of construction for residential homes. So we actually do have that, and we can introduce that if that becomes necessary. But one key point to note is that the materials are not the only factor that determine whether or not a house is affordably priced. You know, the land cost is critical, of course, but importantly as well is the development execution approach. So unfortunately right now in this market, we as actors have tried to find development groups that we can back, that can develop hopefully thousands of homes. But there are very few groups in this market that can consistently develop even over 100 homes on an annual basis, which is a really, really poor number compared to Mexico, or was it like 1 million homes per annum delivered. So the whole ecosystem for the housing delivery at this time is broken. So the land costs too high, typically, wrong location. The titling is a problem to ensure that an investor is comfortable. The development execution is poor because there are very few developers who actually understand how to develop housing in almost a factory style, disciplined, repeatable, and aggressive process, essentially. Otherwise, they'll just keep middling around every year, developing 15 homes, 50 here, wait another 2 years and do another set. So we have to fix that whole ecosystem, which of course includes the mortgage financing, which should also help to make it more affordable. So the whole chain is broken, and investors like us are very reluctant to put money into housing projects until each of those pieces is repaired. And it will take the private companies like us interacting with governments to help to resolve it. And we're ready to do it, by the way.
Sorry, before you hand over that topic, I think at this point, both of you should really be talking to us in Ogun State, because at Plainfields right now, the House Corporation is doing that.
Okay, so there's going to be a meeting.
Yeah, we should have a meeting after.
Well, we should, absolutely.
I will broker that.
So we're here.
Okay. Next question, please.
Next question. What is the government doing in accelerating land titles, governor's consents in OPIC and Ogun State Housing Estates, Ishedi Scheme, etc. Femi George.
Okay, government.
Okay, well, we had challenges in the past, and this was because there were quite a number of irregularities. I think Trudy mentioned about titles being revoked earlier on. If you're familiar with the Ogun State story, at the point in time we had to have a panel of inquiry to inquire to how people acquired large expanses of land, because we found that they were irregularly acquired, they were undervalued. This is not a case of revaluing for commercial purposes, they were extremely undervalued, and most of those had to be revoked. As of today, we no longer have a challenge in that regard, like Shegun rightly mentioned. The entire land administration system in Ogun State has been computerized, it's been digitized. We're now moving on to the GIS platform that will be launched shortly, and that means the time it takes to get your title sorted out will be extremely reduced and constrained. With regards to OPIC and
How long?
How long? Mm-hmm. Well, you would have to get the Dee-links to come here and say that, but it's going to be much shorter than it is currently. Secondly, with housing and OPIC, the peculiar difference there is you do get a sublease. You don't get a C of O as such, because they already have C of O, so you can only have one C of O on every property. So that means when you buy from OPIC, when you buy from Housing Corporation, when you buy from the Ministry of Housing, many times what you will get from us will be a deed of sublease that you don't have to process governor's consent on. And that doesn't take that long. It takes less than it won't take maximum 60 days, max.
Sorry, before you leave the topic of title, because I think that's really, really important. I have to re-emphasize that. So I understand you said the land process in the past were undervalued, there was irregularities in the acquisition. But what confidence, what has changed significantly that will allow us to feel that the next, for example, government wouldn't say, well, if I were to enter into a deal with you today, how would I know they wouldn't revoke it and say that what you did was irregular as well?
Simple word, transparency. Yeah. You see, there's a major difference you need to take note of. This government is an extremely transparent government. Mm-hmm. Everything is done by the book. Right. When you come in and you ask us, if we're going to Bureau of Lands, you're coming to housing, you're coming to OPIC, and you say you want to buy land, you have a process you're going to follow that you follow with any other private sector developer. You get your allocation documents, you get your title, you pay your money fully. Mm-hmm. So once that is in place, anybody revoking that land is looking for a lawsuit. But this is different from the past where people do get land, and when you ask them to demonstrate payment, they come up with something that I don't really want to say more than that.
Well, one thing investors do think about, though, is it's fine that this government is saying it, because clearly you're challenging things perhaps that the old government did. What are the things that, because investors will always want to know this, what are the things, initiatives that this government is doing to make sure that whatever you're doing now lasts beyond your own regime, your own office?
Well, it goes back again, like I said, to what my colleague Shegun said earlier on. What His Excellency has done is to put together a very strong team that is process-driven, that is used to working with standards, and everything we do now is policy-backed. Mm-hmm. It's no longer based on because you have access to the governor, because you have access to the commissioner, because you have access to me that you can get things done. Everything we do now is process-backed. The processes have been legislated upon. We have laws in place that govern how we operate. And the expectation is when this government leaves and the new government comes in, if people try to circumnavigate those processes, we expect them to be challenged.
Okay, thank you. I think we have time for just one more question. Oh, His Excellency wants to comment.
Thank you. Sorry, I have to take this question myself. I wasn't comfortable sitting down there, and the box stops on my table, and investors should be comfortable. They should have that comfort that whatever we do now will last, as they say, forever. Because government is continuing, really. It is not that because maybe the previous administration did this, then all of those things that is done must be thrown away. No. But this is Ogun State, and we are saying that it must be a system-driven environment. Procedure must be followed. And since we have resumed in office, what we found out was that, and this is, I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility, we met about 17,000 backlog of allocation that have been given without any title. A lot of things, it was more of a campaign even point when we were going around. A lot, everybody complained. And we said the best thing to do is let us set up a judicial panel of inquiry. Let them look into what is happening. We realized people being allocated land that indeed there was even no land there. You really cannot sit in office and say you are allocating land to people when you have not even done any survey, when you don't even know, you just realize that, oh, between this place and that, we have about probably 1,000 hectares of land there. Not going physically to see it, either by way of through GIS or through other means, to know that this is exactly what we have there. You need to do the topo to know, oh, this place, oh, this is a hill, that one, it is not. So nobody knows. And one thing that you really cannot walk through the system, if you say it is 10,000 per hectare, it must be. If there are reasons for you to say, oh, I want to bend this rule, everybody must know. There must be rules. But we found out that in so many issues, I'll give you maybe about 3, so that you will know why we said no, this is not right. In a scenario where somebody that you are given maybe 600 hectares pays about 100, I'm just hypothetical now, pays about 100 million, 600 hectares. And somebody else that was given the same thing that the 600, somebody that you now give maybe just 30 hectares. And you found out that 30 hectares has paid probably about 80. You ask, why is it somebody paying 80 for 30 and somebody 100 million for 600? Then you go back, what are the laws? If you say that, for example, on that, our axis, which you consider to be what we consider to be our most prized asset on that corridor of Lagos-Ibadan. If you look at what has happened between immediately after the Long Bridge to Redeem, you know it's unplanned. The others that is there, we said, I didn't say it, we said it's going to be 20 million. And you realize that if it is 20 million, somebody is probably taking maybe 5. It should be 100 million. Even if we said, oh, maybe you are into manufacturing, you are into this kind of sector, we are giving you this discount. You now realize that you cannot even trend what is happening. Somebody will have explained it, somebody will be given maybe just 8 hectares, and you will see the person paying the right amount, and somebody with more than that will not pay. So because of those crises, what did we say? Because people will say ease of doing business with Ogun State. They even said at some point in time that we are 36 out of the 36 states. That is not good for us. And why are they saying all this? Because of those backlogs. So when we came, the first thing we did was to find a way, a formula to make sure that all of those backlogs were cleared. And among the things that we did was to now call all the various either parastatal, ministry, agency that has anything to do with land processing to come together and brainstorm and say that we don't want Mr. A submits his document today, you are running around, they come back again 3 months, 6 months, some even years. And today, that is why people will come and say that, oh, for years we've not been able to receive our title. But I have good news for all of us now. We have cleared more than 8,000 of those 17. Even the one that is the backlog now, through the homeowners charter, we are going to clear everything. Indeed, for us, since we've resumed, we sold very few. Indeed, I can count. And out of the about maybe 150, 200, we have about 46 of them that are actually, I'm talking in terms of those that have invested in excess of even $100 million. All of them, we were focused on, let's clear the backlog. And I think we are doing that, and very soon we will clear them. Because we still have issues with some that are 2004, 2005, and they're there. But we were not saying, okay, because this has been done, we are going to throw them off. No, it's a responsibility. Government continues, and we have to take full responsibility of probably any lapses, and that's what we are doing. So let me reassure everybody now that we have not gone back to the house. They've now said these are the rules. Even we now know that if you cross the line, of course, it doesn't matter who you know, whether it's governor. You don't even, in a sane environment, you don't need to know the governor. You don't need to know anybody. At the touch of a button, of course, you should do your business. And I'm sure now with our GIS, which we are going to launch, I think about 2 weeks' time or so, because we want to use it to commemorate our 3rd year in office. You will see that wherever you are, at the touch of a button, you want this, you will see all of the history about your land. When you apply for it, how you apply for it, how much did you pay, everything will be there, so that you don't need to run around. And once that is there, it will be easy for whoever that is signing to sign. So I think I need to make that clarification. So thank you for bringing that up. And even from what you said here, I was trying to put notes down. We would disturb you more because we don't want Renaissance artists and all of you. We want to partner with you. For me, he is not saying it. You are asking how do we get it right? How do we take care of those that, let me use the word have-nots. In fact, the have probably is not as much as those that have. For me, I will do the best for the haves. Heed the haves well, and whatever we are able to get from them, we will now give to the have-nots. And that is what we should do. Because if the haves, if we fail to take care of the have-nots, we will not enjoy what we have. So, be ready to support us. Absolutely. You will make your money. We will be happy. Our own money, when we make it, we will now give it to those that are the have-nots. So, that is the idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Final question.
Final question.
Is the government willing to provide off-taker guarantees to investors in housing development? From Twitter.
Is the government willing to provide off-take guarantees to investors in housing development?
It would entirely depend on what exactly these off-taker guarantees are. If the off-take guarantees mean, is the government ready to put down land as its equity? The answer is an absolute yes. If the question is the government ready to give like a promissory note that they will buy back what hasn't been sold, then I think it will be on a case-by-case basis. I don't think I would want to commit, but we do have a situation that we are working on now. It was a project which was started in the last administration, and we are trying to round it up. And we did offer the developer that, okay, look, you finish it in 6 months, then you try and sell it in the next 6 months. And after that, if nobody buys it, we buy it off you. That's just one scenario. But I think it's safe for me to say that on a case-by-case basis, we could look at that. I don't think that we can commit to giving off-takes on a... Because you see, the thing is this, right? I have been in government now for like 3 years. I have noticed that government has to spend for education, they have to spend for infrastructure, they have to spend for health, and then they have to spend for salaries. There isn't that much left. So what we can do as a government is to provide an enabling environment so that investors can take on that responsibility. And that is our focus. What are those things that fall into the parameters of an enabling environment? Having an off-taker situation doesn't really help us, because at the end of the day, it ties our money down. Because before a bank can give an off-take, I think you must have something in the bank that they are collateralizing on. I'm not a banker, I'm just a mere architect, but that's the way I think it is.
So government's answer is it depends. Well, we're out of time now. I'd like to thank the speaker. I'd like to thank all of the panelists, Yvonne Ike, Chude Ejekam, Segun Abiodun, Jide Odusholu, and the panelist emeritus, His Excellency himself. We had a panel of 5 discussants. Thank you very much for your attention. The message is that the urban development strategy in Ogun State is being very well thought out. Government is committing resources and substantial amounts of money to planning and ensuring that the urban plans, the master plans, the strategic plans that are being developed are investor friendly, they are bankable, they are socially inclusive, they're environmentally friendly, and they will stand the test of time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Wonderful discuss. Great panel. Let's quickly have some photographs with His Excellency the Governor. Press available. Don't forget we also have our live studio arrangement just behind the hall where we shall continue taking on interviews. We're going to have, and I should let you know this while it's all nice and quiet in here, we're going to have a drive-through guided tour and some site inspections this evening. Now what we have done is we have buses parked outside the premises, and our tour guides will direct you as soon as you do step outside. I should let you know that we don't expect this to last more than 2 hours, so hopefully everybody should be back at this venue by 6 p.m. And we do hope you enjoy the tour. Okay? That done. Photographs still in place? You done? The media hub, don't forget interviews there. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have mentioned time. We will get back here, Sha. Okay, but those buses are outside, and we can proceed on that tour, a few sites, and see what Ogun State is made of. Thank you for being with us here, day one. We'll see you tomorrow, but before we go, national anthem, please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, Ogun State is a new frontier, and Ogun State is open for business. See you tomorrow.